Then he's telling me what he knows. And then as I'm getting ready to leave, he says to me, I'd like you to have these. And he takes down from his incredible bookshelf. He himself had written 8 books, right? And he takes down these books and he hands them to me. And they're in these wrappers. And I can see that they have Nuremberg nomenclature on them. And what they are is they're his father's documents from his Nuremberg trial. And I'm like, I can't take these. I thought he meant take them back to my hotel room, look at them, and then bring them back the next morning when we're doing the next interview. And he said, no, I want you to have them. And I was like, I can't have them. And he said, I don't want them, and you should have them. And he gave them to me. So I had this stack. So I was like, on my trip home, it was so perplexing because I threw out all of my clothes. I was like, screw the clothes. I mean, I travel with a carry-on bag, right? So in my carry-on bag, all I have is this Nazi paraphernalia that was in Germany. That is Dr. Blum's, the Deputy Surgeon General of the Third Reich's documents from Nuremberg covered with swastikas. I mean, he was acquitted at Nuremberg based on all these documents, okay? And, by the way, based on human experiments. And I'm at the airport and I realize suddenly, oh my God, swastikas, like this is illegal. If they go through my bag, I'm going to be arrested. I'm carrying these incendiary...
Right. Do you have any copies of your book on you? So you can
say I'm a journalist, but other books. No. I was just holding my breath.
At least one.
Joe, I was sweating almost as hard as I was sweating at the beginning of this interview. Right?
I think you're sweating harder.
I was. I went through, because I was like, wow, I went through it, no problem. Got home, I have them in my office.
So they didn't check in?
Nope. I didn't say boo.
Like you didn't go through Israel.
Well, you know what? It's not, the swastika is not outlawed there, but it is in Germany. You may not have any Nazi paraphernalia whatsoever. In fact, my paperclip book, which has a swastika on it, had to be redesigned, the cover, for the German publication. And it just has broken up images of the Nazis because you cannot reproduce that image in Germany.
I'm not pro swastika, but it's so strange that we've given so much power to this design that you can't even see it. It used to be, there's a temple out here that I believe it's a Hindu temple, and it was a part of Hinduism. That this swastika predates World War II. It predates the Nazis. It predates their sort of reclaiming of it. And this building that was built out here in I think it was built in the 1920s, has swastikas on it. There's a big plaque explaining why there's swastikas on it.
I know they have it at a different angle, right? Yeah. But talk about branding, right? My God, that was, and the Nazis were, kings of that.
They were not only that, the mustache. That guy killed that mustache. There's not another thing like that.
But he didn't kill the dueling scar, right? That could come back.
Do you think?
No, not after your show. What do you have, 4 million viewers?
Probably.
Right?
But people don't think about it that way. They don't think about the dueling scars being a Nazi thing.
No, that's what I find remarkable, right? They really don't.
But the Nazis did.
The Nazis did. And then you look, there's an amazing photograph of JFK, Lyndon Johnson, Kurt Debus, sitting at, for a launch, a moon launch. And there's Davis with his huge dueling scar. And I'm like, and their position was, oh, he's one of the good Germans.
Well, that culture was a culture of ruthlessness. It was even the good ones. There he is.
Yes. Good job, Jamie. Look at that. Can you believe that?
Scar on his face.
They still give out an award, by the way, that's called the Kurt Debus Award. And I rang them up and said, why are you guys giving out this award? He was a hardcore Nazi.
What did they say?
They were like, they've hemmed and hawed, and I finally said, well, at least tell me what you say to people who ask that question. You know what they said?
What?
No one's ever asked us that question before, Annie.
Well, they will now. Jesus. Oh, it's... Well, when you really stop and think about the horrific nature of what the Nazis did, how inhuman it was, how crazy it was. That had to permeate the entire culture. There is no good Nazis. There was not one. Even one of them that was looped into that had to be responsible for some awful, awful shit.
I mean, Einstein said it the best when he said you could have left. Like people who could have left should have left,
Yes.
right?
Well, do you know the story of Fritz Haber, right? The guy who,
Yes.
I mean, he wound up having to flee, and he's the guy who created Zyklon gas. And he created Zyklon A, which had smell built into it, so that it would warn you when you were using this pesticide. And then the Nazis turned it into Zyklon B, where they removed that element that added the smell and just this odorless, horrific, poisonous gas that they used.
People are not asking the right questions. They're not asking the right questions because they kind of think we already believe.
Used to gas the Jews, and he was a Jew.
I mean, then when you think about it, he was no longer useful to them because
Yeah.
then they figured out he really was a Jew.
Yeah, well,
Shipped
once
him.
World War II came around, so he was a part of World War I when they first started using gas, and there's a great Radio Lab podcast about it. I think it's called The Bad Show. But anyway, what essentially it says is that he was up for the Nobel Prize at the same time he was wanted for crimes against humanity. Because he was up for the Nobel Prize for creating the Haber method of extracting nitrogen from the atmosphere, which was used for fertilizer. Which to this day they say 50% of the nitrogen in human bodies was created by the Haber method. So what you get from food, from vegetables, like that nitrogen, 50% of it at least, is coming from this guy's method, who was a scientist, who was a Jew, who was working in Germany before it became Nazi Germany, and then was the guy who figured out how to use gas on people. It's a dark, his story
twisted,
is a
dark tale.
story. I mean, he died looking for medical treatment because he had to flee Germany. And he's had a bad heart, and he died on the road trying to get to Switzerland. I think it was Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I mean, Nazi Germany is like the pole position taken way too far, right? And that's what's remarkable, that the Pentagon was like, okay, but we can learn from this.
Mhm.
And there are elements that are dark in that.
Well, it also comes out of the devastation of World War I, right? The economic devastation, the defeat. The Germans are in this terrible state overall in terms of their morale. And then along comes this charismatic psychopath that is just really good at screaming. To this day, I don't speak German, but to this day, when you watch that guy scream and yell at all those people and see them respond, it gives you chills. Like that kind of charisma, that kind of influence that someone has, where they can do that in front of thousands and thousands of people, and everyone's goose-stepping, and it's like, oof. To see, we're very fortunate there's not something like that right now. And our forefathers and our grandparents and whoever fought World War II, if it wasn't for them, who knows where this world would be right now, because that was a literal evil empire straight out of Star Wars. I mean, that was like the Sith Lord. They really were. They were human beings who were doing some of the most evil shit that you could, almost demonic, if you really stopped and thought about it. If there were demons pretending to be people, they would do the same thing.
I mean, that's why I think it's a rabbit hole, because it's so hard to comprehend that, like, a culture of educated individuals in that moment in time that you talked about between World War II, World War I and World War II could completely become malevolent.
Yeah, that's one of the more disturbing things about the Nazis, was that there were so many of these people that they did extract through Operation Paperclip. Brilliant engineers and scientists that were also evil. Like, those two things are very uncomfortable for us. We like to think of our scientists as being the people that are out there trying to solve the mysteries of the universe and provide us with the technology to make our life better here on Earth. Not the Nazis.